হ্যালো ভিউয়ার্স, আজকের নতুন একটি বিষয় নিয়ে আমরা ডিসকাস করব। সেটা হচ্ছে মেজার্স অফ সেন্ট্রাল টেন্ডেন্সি ইন স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্স, ইন এ স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্যাল সাবজেক্ট, দ্যাট ইজ ইন বেসিক স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্স or introduction to statistics. The main topics start in this subject, that is the firstly we are to discuss the measures of central tendency. This is described as follows: in a raw data, classified data or sort of frequency distribution, there are certain values will occur frequently and others that occur less frequently. The value which appear frequently does not necessarily coincide with any other value in the distribution, but around that the other values occur and tend to oscillate. It is more or less a central value, and the data is heavily concentrated around this central value. Thus, the central tendency of a classified data or a sort of a frequency distribution can be defined as the tendency of clustering around of different values around a central value which is representative of all other values in the data. The value around which the other value lie is a measure of central tendency, a measure of location. This central value is called an average. A average are the measures used to describe the characteristic of central tendency or location of data. An average of a frequency distribution may also be defined as a single value which is in some sense typical of all other value in the distribution. By the measures of central tendency, we thus identify the values which may be computed in an attempt to characterize an aspect of a frequency distribution. We know that summarization of set of data is the process of going from extensive and complicated details to simplify informative generalization while preserving some of the essential features of the data set. The simplest and the extreme kind of summary is to reduce the entire group of numbers down to one single number that best represents the data set. This single number summary should, however, be a number which is typically of the values in the data set. This value should not be too large or too small, meaning that it should not be too far out on the left or right tail of the distribution. Thus, the single value should be as close to the central or middle of the distribution as possible. In this way, the average attempts to provide a summary from the notion of central location of the middle property of a set of data. The purpose of an average, other than characterizing the frequency distribution by a single value, is also to provide a basis of comparison with other distributions of similar nature. That is, in an ordinary of daily life situation, we come across with such terms as average income, average rainfall, average growth rate, average irrigated area, average production of crop, etc. However, different types of averages or measures of central tendency are implied in these terms. The type of average to be employed depends on the purpose of the application and the nature of data being summarized. In order to summarize the data efficiently, we need to consider two questions. Which method is the most appropriate for the situation, as the data set may be symmetric or skew, short or long tailed, and may also have outliers. And others, what type of summary is needed in order to answer the real world questions we are studying. This point is important, as we should not perform any analysis by using statistics alone. We should also use the knowledge of the real world situation. The purpose is not to get the correct answer only, the answer should also be useful and meaningful. So viewers, we have to discuss what is measures of central tendency, that is, what do you mean by central tendency. Then next we are to another topics of a statistical subject.